wanted to annex into the city.
Correct.
And primarily for the water and sewer service.
Yes.
As I understand it, staff, if there's anything different, please tell me, but the annexation was initiated by them, not by us.
I understand that.
And so they wanted to come to us for
Yes.
service.
Right. But you all are deciding whether to approve it, to annex in, and the benefit to the city for doing that is what I'm trying to get clear. I'm a little dense, I guess, but why would the city want to even get involved in this? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay.
I understand that, right? What is the benefit? Yeah, the benefit. What are the benefits?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Serencione Bacon. I live at 802 Old Augusta Road, adjacent across the road from this property. And this property came up about 3 or 4 years ago in the county. And from my understanding, this is a property, Mahana Shipping Lines, they deal with wrecked cars, junk cars, cars that have been totaled, and they stuff them in the containers to ship them overseas. We haven't heard what this warehouse is going to do. This has not been brought out to the council. What type of business is going to be here? If you're familiar with the little hot shot trucks that pull 3 cars on the back of little small trucks, these shipping lines were on Grange Road in Port Wentworth, just outside of Garden City there. And these trucks would always be on the road, strung up and down the roads, staging, waiting to get into these areas to drop off these cars. And I have some photos. I don't know, is Mahanahan Shipping going to be doing the same thing there? But I've researched it online, and that's all I see that they do, is deal with these wrecked cars. And I have some photos for the council to see that you can see what type of business this is, because they haven't stated what they're going to be doing at the warehouse. And I don't see a necessity of that type of business on that road, bringing that type of environment into the community. It's not something that is a necessity to the community to have junk cars or wrecked cars being staged or stored out there for shipping, to ship them overseas. And I don't see where that's a necessity to bring that into community. And we're not even looking at the hazard. You already got Solon building a big plant there, gonna employ, I think they said about 700 and some people. And then you're gonna put this little warehouse in there on that 5 acres with all these trucks going in and out, probably 12 hours a day, might be 24/7. I heard the gentleman say the last time that on Sunday they would slow up their workload while they're having church service. So that lets me know that he's probably going to be operating on Sunday. But I have some photos here. Where could I put them at?
Taking care of it, just
Okay.
pass them
But,
pass them down and look at
But
them.
I'd like to have the attorney there, what is this business going to do? What is going to be did at that warehouse? That hasn't been addressed, and no one is telling us what type of business is going to be there. And from the community standpoint, and everyone I speak to, that's not a necessity, because we went to the county, as I previously stated, 4 years ago about this same thing coming in the community. Now they want to build a warehouse there and bring it to the city and get the city to pass it where they can do it in the city limits, and saying that it's an issue about the water and sewage. That's not the issue. The issue is the type of business that they're wanting to put in the community. Why won't they tell city council what the warehouse is going to do? What's going to be the operation? And I don't think that's a necessity. I wanted to put it on stream where the citizens could see as well.
Can they put it up?
Well, that's all right. I'm thinking
I'll pass it around.
most people know what these this type of business does, you know. I'm just wondering why this is being, kept a secret about what the business is gonna do. If I'm incorrect, I would like for him to say that I'm incorrect and that's not what the business is gonna do.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to address that specifically. He is incorrect. I'm not sure where he's getting his information about these red cars, and I wasn't involved apparently 4 years ago that he is referring to. But I mean, we can tell you now, if that's what he's concerned about, that can be stipulated, that this is not going to be part of any wrecked car. That is not our business. The things that have changed since 4 years ago is this, the Development Authority acquiring this property, and now with this plant coming in, that industrial use, we know that they need warehousing space that they'll use for their facility and other similar facilities that would just want a warehouse in our facility, but we will stipulate tonight that that's not gonna be wrecked cars. We don't know anything about what that is or where that's come from, but it's, what has changed is that now we are tied to the city through the Development Authority property that is being used for industrial use, and we're just capitalizing on that. And to do so, we are gonna look at tie into the city's facilities. How will it benefit? It will receive revenues from those utilities, as well as the additional taxes that our property will bring to the city. But it's a mutually beneficial. Again, we have nothing to do with the red car business, but warehousing and logistics, and particularly as it relates to the industrial use that's going to be going on right next to us.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess.
What are you gonna do? I mean, can you say, I mean, is it related to, say, what?
There's no specific, just warehousing in particular, staging it until it can be delivered to the port, whether that's coming in, exporting or importing. And we're hoping that it, with Sashawan, that I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but they would be using our facility, hopefully chiefly for their parts, and that they will use in their facility. That we will use that as, but if not, we're looking for similar industrial storage that we would just, lease out that space. But we don't have a particular product that we would be using inside the facility. Yes.
And let's keep in mind, and Ms. Lewis, you can share any information that may be helpful in this discussion, but tonight we're dealing with an annexation and a rezoning, which basically is just the same zoning that the county had. It's just coming into the city zoning, which would be equivalent to what it was
That's what we
already.
understood, it was the most equivalent to what we were in the county.
And so whenever you get to a point where you're ready to initiate your business, whatever the zoning approval, whatever conditions are in that particular zoning area, those are the allowed things. Is that pretty much what the process would look like as we move on?
Yes, that's correct. So when the next step after this would be to come for site plan approval. And as part of that, that's when we look at the specifics of the use, parking, storage on the site, all of that is when we look at, and any specific conditions that are tied to warehouse use.
That's right.
And to answer Mr. White's question, and Mr. Dickey, there are certain revenues that are coming with that development agreement that come to the city, which helps bring in revenue for the city, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
There's a 4 mil tax that'll be levied on this property under this, community improvement district, which will come to the city.
That's right. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that needed to comment? Any questions or comments from council?
Yeah, a couple things. I'm sure Ms. King got this in the minutes, but I just wanted to make sure that the last statement about the wrecked car.
A grocery store, anything type of business would be more efficient and beneficial for the community than somebody storing warehouses. Put them in their, industrial parks. We got industrial park right there on 21. They can go in there with all these noisy business and operate and be away from the public.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. Any other questions from council or information needed? All right, that being said, there is a motion in order.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Brower, a second by Mr. Blackwell, to approve second reading on a petition filed by Alejandro Camara on behalf of Manheim Shipping Line LLC requesting a rezoning for a 5.08 acre parcel located at 801 Old Industrial Road South, amend the zoning from B3 Highway Commercial District to LN Limited Industrial. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower? Yes. Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
No.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
All right, moving to item 1, new business. Vote on a petition filed by Jacqueline Baton requesting a variance to construct a fence within the front setback area. The property is located at 505 East William Street, is owned by Jacqueline Baton, and is zoned R4 single family residential, parcel number R21000043. We had the public hearing at the last meeting, I believe.
Yes, sir.
I think the information was presented and questions were asked. Would you like to maybe just restate your request? And
I would just like to be able to put a fence that my property is already 3/4 of the way fenced. I just want to go ahead and finish off the front, go right across the front, and protect me from whatever's boxing me in or about to box me in. Because apparently, if something is already sold, there's nothing we can do about it, right? That's another issue, I'm sorry. Let's stay on my fence.
all right. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Tom?
I'd just like to see what this is in this zone
Now it's gonna work.
and the height. I'm good, sorry. I'm gonna go look it up.
It's 4 feet. Chain link. I bought it at Lowe's. And it's just gonna close off the front of my property. This is my property. It's all fenced in there.
And
I
I
just wanna
think
go across.
if I'm understanding correctly too, the fence is already up each side
Mhm.
into the front yard.
Absolutely.
So you're just completing across the
That's
front,
it.
is what you would like to do.
That's it.
I think this aligns with our upcoming fence that we're gonna talk about later.
It does, so we've gone ahead and checked to verify that, what Ms. Platoon is proposing will meet the, new revisions to the fence regulations, and it will.
Yeah, I think we've been pushing this for a while now, trying to get a lot of people to do that. But the only thing we were talking about the height and different stuff like that, and the material.
Yeah, there's a lot of people near you that have them in the front yard too.
Yeah, I counted at least 7 other properties along William Street that have fences of one type or another.
And some that have mix and
I
matches.
think 4 of them are already chain links in the front yard.
Yep.
So it's not a stretch anyway with it.
I didn't think so either, sir.
Man, if I'm in order, I'd like an offer motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Mr. Scott, second by Mr. Blackwell, to approve the petition filed by Jacqueline Baton requesting a variance to construct a fence within the front setback area, property located at 505 East William Street. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower? Yes. Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is a vote on a petition filed by Belinda Hunt requesting a variance to reduce the minimum width of each lot from 100 linear feet to 90 linear feet. Property is located at 706 7th Street Extension in the zone R4, single family residential, parcel number R2140032C00.
Hey, good evening. I'm Joseph Rowe, the contractor here on behalf of Belinda Hunt for the variance. We're still requesting the variance at 706 West 7th Street.
And the public hearing was held on this at our last meeting as well. Information you shared, anything new, Ms. Lewis?
The only thing that I would add is there was some question about, did this property have access to Jadon Street?
Right.
And it does. We did find plats, recorded plats that show that this property does have legal access to Jadon Street.
Yeah, that was the one question I think that came up.
I'm familiar with this property and with keeping it zoned in that same zone, this will be the best fit for that project that they're trying to put in there for that area.
Mr. Scott, it's been that property's been that size for quite some time, hasn't it? Yes.
So I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Scott, second by Mr. Blackwell to approve petition filed by Belinda Hunt, requesting the variance to reduce the minimum width of each lot from 100 linear feet to 90 linear feet. Property is located at 706 7th Street Extension in the zone R4, single family residential. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirk?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Kirk. Item number 3, new business, Dean Denosh, request to appear before council.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Not Dean Denosh, Josh Yellen representing Dean Denosh. Dean is over there. But I have an interesting request for y'all today and not one that I'm normally bringing before city council where it's a question that I don't know the answer to. But from talking to Dean and then through consultations with the city manager, what they were asking for is a proposal that I wouldn't come before you with, not 5 years ago, not 2 years ago, probably not even last year. But they are asking to see if you'd be willing to entertain a change to your zoning ordinance and the alcohol license process to permit a package store in the city of Rincon. We know that we've seen these changes happen in Guyton, we've seen it happen in Springfield. We know that they're very well regulated. We know that there are ordinances that can be put in place to make sure that any facility that comes to the town will be clean, will be well run, will be a benefit to the community. And so the request today was simply a pulse check to see if this is something that the town of Rincon would be willing to entertain. We know that you have the process in place. You have a robust alcohol ordinance already that has a defined package store as a use, but that use simply is not corresponding to the zoning ordinance. So the process is there, but we just wanted to get comments and feedback and see if this was something that we could work with y'all going forward, because we've seen the changes in other municipalities and we know that that change is coming. And so we do appreciate y'all taking the time today for a slightly different matter, and I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have about this.
Thank you, Mr. Yellen.
Thank you.
To my knowledge, this is the first the sanitary pump improvement project. Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirk?
Yes.
And item number 5 is Penholster Construction LLC, request approval of pay request number 3, final pay request and retainage for the sanitary pump station improvements in the amount of $6,764. Line item number 320, 4325, 541401.
Mayor, Council, this is retainage and the final payment for those 3 projects. And I must say, they done a real good job and in a timely manner.
And to that point, I appreciate the report card on the project too. We've been asking for those. Sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't, but it's helpful, I think, for us to know the companies a little better that are doing our work, and after it's done, to be able to do a good evaluation of their work, make some determination about whether we need to use them in the future. So I'm glad we got that information provided.
I wouldn't hesitate to recommend Penholster Construction for any project. I mean, we work real well together, got stuff done, got it completed, and everything looks great.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Bowles?
You're a hard grader. You said they're doing great, but I didn't see a 5. What would you give a 5?
That's EMC's report card, not mine.
Okay.
An exceptional is hard to get.
From 10.
Motion approved.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. Brower, second by Mr. Scott to approve pay request number 1, number 3 to Penholster Construction, and request and retainage for the sanitary pump station improvement in the amount of $6,764. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
Item number 6, new business, approval to pay invoice from EMC in the amount of $5,682.50 for, I assume this is not like a KitchenAid mixer or something like that. It's a little more extreme than that.
It's a little more extreme than that.
Yes. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
Thank you, Tommy. We don't get to see you much.
Sir, it's always good to be seen.
Item number 8, new business, is a vote on a request to terminate the moratorium on the acceptance of fence applications. Ms. Lewis?
All right, yes, we talked about this a little bit last week when we had the public hearing for the changes to the fence regulations. As you know, council adopted a moratorium on fence applications on June 12th. Now that we've gotten through the public hearing, we did make a few changes last week based on the comments from council, and so now we're suggesting that that moratorium be lifted now instead of waiting till second reading on September 11th.
Any questions for Ms. Lewis? I think we've been through this, and I appreciate the work you've done and planning and zoning, and to get us to this point, although recognizing that this is not always a fix-all, there are always going to be issues that are going to pop up that we're going to need to address. So, but thank you for getting us this far.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kirkland, second by Mr. Brower, to approve request to terminate the moratorium on the acceptance of fence applications. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirk?
Yes.
Item number 9, new business, is a vote on the first reading of the ordinance to consider proposed amendments to the City of Lincoln ordinances, specifically sections 9094, perimeter fence and wall standards and requirements.
All right, I'm back again. So these are the actual fence regulations. So the changes that we made as a result of the public hearing at the last meeting were to change the minimum height of fences in the front yard from 42 inches to 48 inches, because that's a standard size, to remove the requirement prohibiting chain link fences in the front yard, because again, they won't be taller than 4 feet, and then to change city manager to building inspector in the section where it deals with if there's a material that somebody wants to use that isn't necessarily captured on that list. We try to be comprehensive, but there could be something that comes up, then our building inspector would make the call on that. So those are the changes that we made to the code after the last meeting, and then we're asking for first reading approval.
Questions from Ms. Lewis?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Blackwell, second by Mr. Scott, to approve the first reading of an ordinance to consider proposed amendments to the City of Lincoln ordinances, specifically section 90-94, perimeter fence and wall standards and requirements. Any other question or discussion?
Just one question. How does this affect if someone does not fall into these new requirements? Are there Is there a grandfather? Is there a, until the house is sold, or how does that affect those that might not fall into these standards?
So if we, and Mr. Dickey can correct me if I'm wrong, right now, if we've already issued a permit before the moratorium went into place and it met the requirements under the, the previous requirements, then to me, it would still be a valid fence permit. We would not have somebody have to go and take their fence down. So in effect, it would be grandfathered. I think in order, if we wanted a fence that we had legally permitted to come down, we would have to do some kind of amortization. We'd have to come back with something like that where we said, any fences permitted within X period of time, if they don't meet the code, have to come into compliance by X date. But short of that, it would be somebody taking the fence down. And then when they rebuilt the fence, they'd have to come into compliance.
So let me try to repeat what you said in my terms.
Yes.
If it was permitted and we permitted it, then it's good. If it was not permitted and it does not fall into this and he runs across it, we can make them tear it down.
That's correct.
Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Lewis?
Yes, I do have a question. Is that just businesses or residential? Because that was an issue last time we were talking about all this.
This is for all fences.
All offenses, yes, okay.
Because we did ask for that to be reviewed, to have it be separate from commercial, to have there be a separate.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so with having the public hearing already, we would want to do some research to see if we wanted to separate residential and commercial. So if that would be something that we would want to come back at a later date, I believe through the discussion at the last meeting, we felt that both the fence regulations and the stipulations that are provided in other parts of the code, that if we felt that, or council felt that a larger fence with landscaping, anything like that was required, that would be able to be accomplished through the code.
Any other questions from council? Okay, Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirk?
Yes.
Item number 10, new business, is approval of an intergovernmental agreement and ranking project list of the Effingham counties for the purposes of the T-SPOS renewal referendum. Mr. Lynn, would you like to speak to that one?
Yes, sir. The item before you is the intergovernmental agreement that Effingham County has drafted to initiate the, lack of a better term, the renewal of our existing T-SPOS to run for a period, proposed to run for a period of 5 years with $120 million being anticipated threshold. And this one with Rincon getting a 16.88% share of that extra penny tax collected throughout that 5 years, with projected amount of $20,256,000 that would be coming to Rincon on a monthly basis as that amount is collected by
What's that number again?
$20,256,000.
Oh.
And that's just based on the percentage and the anticipated threshold. This is proposed to be, this will be on the November 7th general election ballot for voting. I do have the project list that's proposed here, but I believe the county did not send me there were so many versions of the intergovernmental agreement going back and forth. They did not send me the most recent one to get included, so I'm gonna ask, I believe that item number 7 is the item that Mr. Dickey had worked with the county attorney to get revised.
That's number 7 and number 10. Number 10 deals with bonds being issued by the county to get the money up front rather than waiting on the money to come in sales tax. Rincon didn't participate in that last time, and it's my understanding you're not participating in that this time. But some of the other cities are participating in that. But the way the agreement was structured this time, as the T-SPOS money came in, it would be put in an account, and the county's bond repayment would be paid first. And so I went back and had them change that because Rincon needs its money from the very beginning, not be put in that account for money to be paid on the county bonds, because we're not participating in that. So that's a change that occurred. So the way it'll work now is Lincoln will receive its share, and then the money will go to retire the county's bond money, which the other cities apparently are participating at some level. Not exactly sure what level, but that's a separate agreement with them at some point in time.
So this money that you're talking about is calculated each year on a calendar basis, I assume? So I can, it's approved in November, we'll start collecting in, say, January 24, so
think
it's
it's March.
January 25, yeah,
This
whatever the
March.
dates are, yeah. We would start getting some of that money.
I believe our first payment would come, it would be collected in March, our first payment would start coming a month after in April.
The current T-Splosh, I don't think will expire until
That was my follow-up question, yeah, was,
December, I think. But this one would not be triggered if it's passed by the voters. It wouldn't be triggered until March. They would start collecting.
correct.
But you wouldn't receive payments until March.
So the current T-Splosh expires at the end of the year, or I don't remember the exact wording, or does it expire when we reach that?
It's being triggered because the dollar amount was not high enough.
Okay.
Rather, the funds came in a lot quicker than was anticipated from the last agreement with the county. They're the ones that put the projection for the total. And so that amount is being reached. And the problem is, once that amount is reached, then that T-Splosh will terminate.
Correct.
So,
Thus, the new,
yes. But on your project list, the east-west corridor is not listed. I know we were trying to put that together, but that east-west corridor project is not listed on there. And I know that in development agreements with Greenland, they're donating the land, the vast majority of that land for that east-west corridor.
I was gonna ask if we can update that to this list. Do we know the approximate cost, or are we just gonna have to do a high dollar figure? I thought we had something.
It was a guesstimation at the time.
Yeah, we had some kind of a guesstimation at the time of what that was gonna cost.
I can amend the list, and put it under, because we put some vague numbers in there, we put specific projects that Tim was able to get put in there. So we can add it into any of those lists that we need to add it, depending on the number that we want to put in there. I do know that, I believe it's District 5 in Effingham County has $3.5 million set aside for the east-west corridor in that district.
Yeah, I was gonna say the county put some aside for that to occur.
So, and we can, under,
And once again, the whole purpose behind it is alleviate the traffic on 9th Street. You'll have a straight road running from 21 to the Effingham Parkway, which will negate 9th Street having to have all of that east-west traffic on it.
And hopefully some of the southbound traffic on 21.
Oh, yeah, we'll turn and go towards
Through the city, yeah.
Effingham Parkway.
so if you guys are amenable to it, we can, where we have quick response, emergency roadway and other repairs, we can take that money and put it under maintenance and safety, and then take the $3 million from maintenance safety and put it toward east-west corridor or other applicable projects.
Well, we probably need to have some more direct communication with the county as far as what they are allowing. And I had some conversation with them the other day, and I think the county just had a workshop retreat just recently. And I know that was one of the topics of discussion.
Well, so to add to this, it has to be on this list in order for us to be able to use it, is that correct? So can we specifically call out east-west corridor and put $3 million towards it?
You could.
I think I would feel better, because that way it's on the list, and that way, you know, we don't have any issues with having to use that money.
So what I'll be, if you guys are.
Changing the quick response amount.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think you have to change anything, just put it on the list, those are your amounts. You'll set your priorities if it gets passed,
Okay.
and that works out with the county.
So just adding the east-west corridor on that particular line. Yeah, please.
Yes, sir.
On the list, and Tim, this may be a question for you. I know we've got some money allocated for 7th Street, and I know we've had a lot of water sewer work done on 7th Street, but there's still more to be done. So is this going to be something, I mean, are we gonna be able to do what we need to do on the work that's already been done without interfering with the work that's yet to be done?
That 7th Street on there is from Georgia Avenue to, the lift station on 7th Street, where their work's already been completed.
Okay.
To get that road, straightened out.
So,
They've been tore up long enough.
yeah, really. So that'll be just from the point that the work has already been done.
Yes, it won't go past where the new work's gonna be doing
Okay.
for the extension.
What would that be, about a quarter mile, maybe 10, or?
Almost a mile.
Oh, okay, almost a mile.
From, Georgia Avenue all the way to, the lift station, just past John's.
All right, any, other questions for staff? There's no other questions or information needed, a motion in order.
Make a motion to approve with the changes that we discussed tonight.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Kirkland, second by Mr. Scott, to approve intergovernmental agreement and ranking project list for Effingham County for the purposes of the T-Splosh renewal referendum with the notice of changes that have been given to Mr. Lynn. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
All right, item number 11 is approval of a mutual and automatic aid agreement between the city of Rankin and Effingham County Fire and Rescue.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Scott, Mr. Dickey, y'all may remember this, we went through this. And it was very agreeable for both parties, about service delivery for the future. And so it worked out beneficial for both parties.
Mr. Dickey and Mr. Lynn, y'all are, any issues with it?
You're still doing it with your limitation that you wanted.
That is correct.
And that, if you wanna explain that to him, too.
What it is the dark purple is the city limit. The county wanted us to cover the entire county. However, we went back and said that we would only cover 5 road miles from the city limits of Rankin, automatic aid. So if there's a house fire within here, we'll send a unit. However, out here, we won't go.
The light purple is 5 miles?
Correct. 5 road miles from the city limits.
Is that the old fire district, basically?
Pretty much, yes, sir.
So under the service delivery agreement, service delivery law, there's a constitutional provision that doesn't allow the city to provide services in the county, nor does it allow the county to provide services in the city unless each party agrees. The county in this particular situation refused to allow the city to service their fire district. As a result of that constitutional provision entitled supplemental powers, the city had no choice but to come back into the city. So what this amounts to is they were asking for auto aid, which is different than mutual aid. Auto aid means that you receive the call at the same time and you respond at the same time. Mutual aid means that they make a request for additional services. So It's my understanding they wanted the entire county for auto aid, and that doesn't make sense.
Would that be brush fires as well?
No, that is only house fires.
We've had a problem with brush fires, we get the majority of brush fires out in the county here, and we were spending too much manpower.
Yes. Yes, this is only for house fires, structure fires. Yes, sir.
So the auto aid is within 5 miles, and the mutual is when they call us for.
That is correct.
You can go anywhere in the county for mutual aid. That's a state, code section that govern mutual aid.
Any other questions for Chief Reed?
I make a motion we approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Taylor, second by Mr. Scott to approve mutual and automatic aid agreement between the city of Lincoln and Effingham County Fire and Rescue. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirk?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12 is consideration and adoption of a policy concerning criminal history checks for volunteers and coaches. Mr. Lynn?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. You all asked for us to draft something to send to you guys regarding putting something in writing on provisions on how to proceed with criminal history checks for volunteers and coaches. I did send you all an email, kind of with what was discussed when Chief Merle, Mike Osborne, and myself met. And what is in your packet is kind of a draft of that policy, just for you guys to consider, give us comments. Mr. Kirkland did respond to the email. I put his email in the packet for consideration. I have not changed anything on the draft policy, just to get comments so that we can get what is the will of council there, so that we can move forward, so that the PD, Parks and Rec, and everyone has the clear path moving forward on what we need to do and how we need to move forward. So you all have that. Chief is here, he's prepared to address anything as well for how you guys want to move forward with that.
I would like to have the PD portion removed unless someone is disapproved through the NAES online certification. If a person does a NAES and NAES, we set what's in the NAES, so there's no reason to do NAES and have the chief do the exact same check. I don't see the need for it. NAES does a very good job. I did my own little research to find that NAES does a really, really good job. We control the narrative on a lot of that. We set, from what I understand, and I'm not an administrator of that site, but you can set, if you want someone with no felonies, just as an example, you set it there and they go through and they check, and if there's no felonies, then that's a check mark and it goes past, right? And now if there's a question, or if there's someone that gets disapproved that wants more information, then I think we can go to the chief and say, hey, chief, we need to do X, Y, Z. Mike, I didn't think to call you to ask you what your thoughts were on it, but what are your thoughts on it?
I just wish we would've all got together and had some type of workshop so everybody could have voiced their opinions, but that never happened. I thought, I was under the impression, and I could be wrong, we were gonna have a workshop, but it never happened. I just think, after days have passed since we spoke, and I brought it up in the department head meeting, it's, some of the wording in there is doing away with people that might have had a misdemeanor, but yet they haven't had anything for 15 plus years. And, we want to say a repeated pattern in one of the things that are listed, but they've also have shown a pattern that they have changed. There are some serious things that you just can't let coaches coach. You can't let individuals coach. But, I just feel we should have had a workshop so everybody could voice their opinions, and we didn't.
Mike, NAES is what y'all were using most recently before this summer, I guess, wasn't it, or another agency?
When I was at other agencies that I worked at, yes. And I've only worked at, besides Rankin, I've only worked at Effingham, Garden City, and Boone.
This is pretty standard, I found. I pulled up some policies from different municipalities in Georgia, and Mays seems to be the standard.
So let me understand, Mr. Kirkland, that you're saying that nays should be the only thing that we should need as far as a background check. Now, that the criteria for exclusion, that would remain as it is that what you're?
Correct. Because they have here 10 years for misdemeanor drug and alcohol, I'm good with that, 5 years for children, anything dealing with children, all felonies, I think, go away, sex, yes, that is correct. And I think that can all be set, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that can, I think all of that can be set in nays so that you can go through and say what you allow and the exclusions that you allow.
Yes, sir.
Can we put this up so the public can see
Oh,
this?
yes, ma'am. My apologies.
I can't read that, but, did he just say that 5 years, anything to do with children?
Any misdemeanors within the past 5 years that would be considered a potential danger to children or is directly related to the functions of that volunteer. That should be.
Only 5 years? 5 years?
That's for one thing.
Never.
Oh. So you're saying as long as it was more than 5 years?
Chief, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel anything,
I'm assuming that you have had 5 years.
I guess when everybody, gives me a minute, I'll speak. Mayor and council, I believe it's our duty as a city to be the standard, not go with the standard. I've given my opinion on it, my opinion hasn't changed. The best reliable source that you have is GCIC and CIC. It's my opinion. I don't care what y'all's decision is. I'm kind of alarmed at how hard this process has been. It shouldn't have to be this hard. We've used GCIC for background checks for the rec department since I began working with this city. So my opinion is that it works in conjunction with NAES, USSSA, Safe Sports, whatever it may be. That's my suggestion, that's my opinion. I felt like the last council meeting, staff was directed to come up with a policy and present it to you guys for your consideration. I feel like we came up with a quality policy, and that's what you guys have before you tonight. I don't care either way. I'm just ready to get a conclusion to it.
Well, I don't know, it sounds like there's a lot of unanswered questions. Maybe we might need to take this to a workshop to get everybody's input and to make sure that we've got this done right. I don't know if we've answered all of our questions here tonight, to be able to approve a process at all.
And we did give direction, and staff did do that. So I'll take, we can take the blame for, I guess, he came back with something.
Yes, sir.
But I think that with something this important, we need to get everybody involved and sit down in a room. But y'all, you did what we asked you to do, and we need to get them hammered out and do it as quickly as possible. But thank you for getting this, but again, I wish we would have been clear and, okay, let's all sit down, let's get it done, let's not leave this room until it is done, so.
My thoughts on the Navies or Safe Sports, whatever it is, those use they have a training aspect to it, from what I'm told. I'm not familiar with those whatsoever. But to me, we should be providing our best effort to vet these people that are working directly with our kids. And our best effort is to use the system that we've been using for background checks. The aspect that was missing was the review of those background checks. That was, again, what started this whole thing, was me making a suggestion that somebody that is used to interpreting criminal histories
provides input. That's what started this whole thing. So,
Let's go ahead and get a workshop
The
down.
workshop, on all motion, we take the still workshop.
So we do have the workshop next Tuesday night, the joint workshop with P and Z. I don't know if you guys want to put some time in there for this or not. I'll leave that
Make
to
it
you.
a full schedule, I mean, if we're gonna meet, let's make it
Okay.
worthwhile.
Yes, sir, we'll have it on there. And in the meantime, I will get with Chief, and ask him he and I can sit down and go through these to see about being able to set criteria and how to arrange that and have a better answer on what that involves, as we get closer to them too. So,
I'll be honest with you, if you guys decide to go with Maze or Safe Sports, whatever's easier on us, let's work for us. But
Mr. Mayor, can I speak?
Come on up.
Did you don't need anything else?
Any questions?
Looking at this, criteria, it's showing like repeated,
State your name.
I'm Rob Collum. Repeated offenses, at any time, it looks like if there's a repeated offense, no matter how long it is, you're not qualified, basically, is what it's, is that correct? Am I reading it right?
That's what it says.
Yeah,
That's
so,
something that-
so if you've had 2 fights 25 years ago, 2 simple misdemeanors, it's basically saying that you can't coach rec ball. And it looks like this is pretty harsh on volunteer coaching. It's hard enough to try to find coaches out there now, and to make something so direct towards volunteer coaches. Most rec departments throughout the southeast, including the YMCA, Pooler, Glen, Richmond Hill, Effingham, I've spoke to all of these guys. They go back 10 years. Convicted felons after 10 years are coaching. I'm not a felon, but I'm just saying, normally after 10 years, if nothing's happened within 10 years, these guys are doing volunteer coaching. That's surrounding counties, including the YMCA, Ronald right here. And I don't understand why Rankin's trying to be harsher than the rest around this area.
Well, and I think maybe that needs to be a part of the workshop discussion, what is common around us, not that we necessarily wanna model ours after anybody else, but I think it's important to know what is standard practice with the recreation area departments all around us. And so that needs to be a part of that discussion.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak.
Yes, sir.
Kevin Exley. I believe what Mr. Kirkland said is fair. I think if you can set the parameters to what it says to the, what is it called, Chief? The GCIC. So if you set the parameters of that, you're not talking about all of your coaches. You're talking about a small portion. So my only suggestion would be is if you set the parameters based off of what it is, and you have 3 guys that come up that are questionable, then you have your panel. You have the chief, you have the rec department, and you have the city manager, or you have someone like that, or you bring it before council. And then you say, hey, what do you think about this person? It's been 15 years. And then you make those decisions. But if you set the parameters to what the chief's talking about, you eliminate everything. That's all I gotta say.
Can I say something?
There's also a moral turpitude factor that the state uses in a lot of places that y'all could also factor in when you're doing this, especially with felons. So maybe you want to factor those in. And then I would suggest too, because some of the problems I think that we have seen is that while y'all are discussing this, that people tend to want to complain about coaches. You know that. I think it would be nice if the city would put something in place where there's a format where you can email a complaint about a coach to the.
All right, so I'm understanding that we're just on item 12, there'd be no action, we just bring it back when we have an opportunity to work through it a little more. Is that agreeable to everyone?
Yes. This workshop will be what, on the 5th, all right?
Yes.
Next Tuesday, yes. Next Tuesday at 6 p.m.
All right, item number 13, new business, is authorize Interdev to initiate phase 2 the city's technology upgrades and complete the SharePoint data and migration process at a cost not to exceed $36,944. Line item number 100, 1300, 54, 24, 15.
Yes, sir, and I'm sorry, I'm smiling because I'm gonna be real brief and I'm gonna ask Mr. Kirkland to step in and help with some of the legal stuff. You guys remember, we went with InterDev to do our data migration and we let everyone know that there were gonna be 2 phases. The first was getting everything, migrated over, so we got to Office and Microsoft 365. Well, that has been done. So now this is just approving them to initiate the second phase of that technology and IT upgrade following that migration. Specifically, this will focus on data migration efforts. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna actually stop right there and ask Mr. Kirkland if he can break it down. I have no ability to do this one, but it is a budgeted item.
Yeah, so what this is gonna do is this is gonna allow all of our data, all of the servers that are over there in whatever closet, it's gonna push them to the cloud, they'll be backed up, they're in a secure FedRAMP facility so that you don't have to worry about anybody stealing it, it's literally very secure. It's gonna allow us the ability to, when we need new computers, there's a new thing called Intune that's out there, meaning we can buy whatever computer standard we decide that we want, and then they'll be able to literally plug in, auto-configure, saving so much time and money. We don't have to worry about finding this disk and that disk. It'll all be included in that package. It's gonna allow it to be encrypted, so the laptops will be encrypted, so if for some reason one gets lost or stolen, our data, we can automatically go ahead and wipe them so that our data, if someone does steal it, it'll allow them the ability to be able to control if it's stolen, as long as we know it's stolen. Even if it's stolen 2 weeks ago and we just find out about it, we can still wipe it remotely. It's going to, what else am I missing? I already talked about file structure. SharePoint is gonna allow, well, we already talked about SharePoint. It's
To you all following a 4:30 call that Chief Merle, myself, and Chief Reed participated in with EMA regarding the tropical storm, Adalia, I always mispronounce that. We have been told, to be expecting some sort of impact at Effingham County and Rincon. I believe they said it was roughly 4 to 8 inches of rain that we should expect. We're in a cone of probability now, not a cone of uncertainty anymore. Where the impact should hit us sometime between 8 a.m. and noon with the strongest on Wednesday morning. There will be another call tomorrow. Before we came to the meeting, I do not know what time that call is, but as soon as we get a heads up on anything, we'll pass along. The county and the school system are holding tight on making any calls on operations until after that call, and they get more information tomorrow. Just a reminder again, there'll be a joint meeting, that workshop on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. We will have that workshop here, in this room, with planning and zoning.
The last phase of 7th Street kind of been on hold. And just stalled out there for whatever reason. Where we are, and Tim may be able to speak to this as well, where are we at with it now, and when do we anticipate it getting completed?
I think that's one of those, some easement issues. I think you've already put that out to bid, correct?
We did have EMC go ahead and put it out to bid. Terry has worked on letters. We've addressed 9th Street, getting some of the easements we need for the sidewalks there, and now we'll be moving on to 7th Street, so we're progressing. We did have EMC go ahead and bid that out, so that we're ready to move on.
Do we have a general time frame?
I don't know, sir, I can get with them and maybe have you one Tuesday night at the workshop.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, just to follow up on that, there's not much left to complete that, is there, Tim?
7th Street, you gotta go from
From Giles Park to,
no, it's from Howard.
It's from Howard with the new well.
The lift station, is that right there on West 7th Street? You just gotta go, west, all the way down to, Scott, Stokes,
okay.
that little lane back there behind Scott.
All right, I'm sorry.
And other quick questions on the park. I know it's kind of another one of those where we get stalled out, and I won't say anything negative, but I wish that the the contractor would see more of an urgency because it's been going on. But I know that, Mr. Williams been handling it, so.
So, and I will,
Are they moving on that? Because I've been by there, it doesn't look like anything's been done.
so I just got an email this afternoon, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up, but they are waiting on, there was a nationwide shortage on raw materials pertaining to turf pad. They have them in now, and they will be out there on Thursday of this week. They were gonna try to be here tonight, but they would have a 4-hour ride from Carrollton. So they'll be here on September 11th to speak with you guys. So they curb crew this Friday, and they're gonna install the curb and get off whatever weep holes, WEEP, they're gonna get those taken care of as well. So we should see movement by the end of this week for good.
It's September 11th, and beat me to the next question. They're gonna be here at the September 11th.
At this meeting, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Lamb? Police Department, Chief Merle?
Mayor and council, I'm available for questions. I told you guys at the last meeting that we were fully staffed and it was gonna be short-lived, and Detective Vance is officially in Illinois, so we're taking care of his mama. We're down one. Wish him the best of luck. He's been a good one. So. You guys have any questions for me? That's really all I have to report.
Questions for Chief Merle?
Thank you.
Fire Department, Chief Reed?
Mayor and council, I will not be here at the workshop next week. I have my first, I have to be in UGA for the Certified Public Managers Program, the 5th and 6th of September. So I will not be here. I'll answer any questions if you guys have any questions.
Any questions for Chief Reed?
And we have no weather updates as of yet from EMA tonight.
Thank you, sir. Building and zoning, Ms. Lewis?
No report.
Any questions for Ms. Lewis? Recreation, Mr. Osborne?
Mayor and council, just to let you know, I did receive my GCIC certification. Other than that, if you have any questions for us?
Any
So are
questions?
you fully staffed now?
I have sent one that's doing the drug test, and they did the background check. We're just waiting for the drug test to come back, and then that leaves one position left,
Oh, that's good.
which I'm doing full-time, which I'm doing interviews for.
So, do you have your inmates back?
I did not.
Why not? You got full-time people. We need to check on that.
That's right.
Okay, we're getting that back.
Thank you.
All right, Public Works, Mr. Bowles?
All thing I had to report, they started on our parking lot, they trying to get the storm drain in before the rains hit.
I know, everybody's saying that we're just gonna have a little bit of rain and watch it be a bad one, you never know.
4 to 8 inches of rain ain't coming a little bit, especially around here. There's gonna be a lot of flooding if we get 8 inches of rain. And the only thing is, ain't nothing we can do about it.
Any other questions for Mr. Bowles?
I'd like to thank Tim for, my call him today, there was a big pothole in 4th Street and, by the school, and Tim, and it was bad. And he said, I'll have somebody out there today, and he had somebody out there today and fixed it, and I just appreciate that. Thank you, I mean, it would just gotten extremely bad, or it would have been much deeper had it not been repaired before the rains hit. So thank you for getting that done, getting it done timely. It was deep enough to blow a tire.
Wow.
Appreciate that.
All right, golf course, Mr. Messenger?
Mayor, council, first and foremost, I'll be a little more detailed with the financials in our reports from now on. Hopefully the storm doesn't affect us too much, because it's Labor Day weekend and golf course isn't shut down on Labor Day. It's supposed to be a good day. But really the biggest thing was, yeah, so unfortunately, we lost Nancy Head after 12 years or so of being here. So that's, you know, that hurts the team, but, you know, it's her decision. So we did lose another employee last week too, but we actually had a replacement for that. So we're looking to replace, you know, another position now. And then in my report, the biggest thing about the staffing.
Background checks on contract employees.
I'd like to suggest in your workshop that you do, and I wondered if anybody had let the golf course manager know that he was convicted for solicitation to commit murder.
Wait, what?
I mean, when he was handpicked to work out there at the golf course by the mayor, Mr. Watkins, he is convicted of solicitation to commit murder. And I just wondered if they'd let you know that, so that you could properly protect the children out there. That's who's running your, and on top of that, we pay him a lot of money. We pay him a lot of money. Although I did FOIA request it, it didn't really come back as applicable. But he does get paid over $6,000 a month. So we pay him a lot of money
Well,
with city funds.
with that, I will say, in my professional opinion, contract employees are gonna be higher in a superintendent's job. I mean, he works, gosh, 70, 80 hours a week. But that's all I'm gonna speak to. I have no clue about the other parts.
Yes, well, now you know. I mean, you guys can do with that information what you want, but he was handpicked by the mayor, and he is your superintendent, and he has been convicted of solicitation to commit murder. So I would suggest in that workshop, we also talk about background checks for contractors and employers.
If I can say just one thing, I knew nothing of this.
You didn't. It was before you. They got rid of the other crew purposely for the mayor to be able to bring them in.
Well,
They just didn't also include you in that.
right, well, in due respect with that, I just wanted to say here on record then that I've had no problems whatsoever with Jim. So, I mean, that is beyond my pay grade, but I've had no problems with Jim.
I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one other question. And I was just asking Mike this, since she brought that up, I was just asking a while ago, how do you handle, umpires? How do we, because that's another thing that we talk about in the workshop. And the reason why I say that is because, those guys are contracted out, but they're still on the same field. So if you're not managing the, you know, if you're not, you gotta do the same thing with those guys that you do the coaches. You can't have someone on the field, and I'm just planting this seed, you guys can do what you want, but you can't have someone on the field with kids if you're trying to put a policy in place to manage coaches. So I'm just saying, you know, in most cities, your contractors obviously have to fall under the guidelines of what the city's policies are. So that's just me saying that, you know, if somebody comes on your property, on the city's property, they have to fall under those same guidelines, whether it be safety guidelines, whether it be background guidelines, or, you know, whatever. So, I don't know how umpires are handled, but, I do know on a state level, they have to be vetted before they can go. So,
Kevin?
Yeah.
Are you still in waste?
yes,
Are you?
absolutely.
So, I mean, on your part in the city, do you have like trash guys that are felons that are around children that are delivering trash?
No,
They're not?
we have to vet those people, and there is a proper vetting, and there are items that we do not excuse. Now, there's some things, certain things that we excuse because we're a second chance, you know, place, but there's some things that we don't. You can't have someone picking up garbage in a neighborhood that has messed with a kid. Can't do that. So there's guidelines.
she didn't say kid, she said it was murder, so I was asking you. Same.
Well, I don't know that I would want anybody on my golf course that was a murderer. I mean, you might pass that, I'm not passing that on.
We have to decide what's right for the city of Ringgold.
Right.
Not whatever company.
What's right for right?
Yeah.
I
think that's okay.
I do know, we do use it subcontracted out to, Kenny Williams. He has an umpire association.
Yes.
Several of them are Georgia High School certified. Several of the others are certified through USSSA. In order to call any U-Trip or, there's another type of tournament, organization. But they have to take the background check, which is certified as well. And, if, there could possibly be one or two that has not had a background check, but I will get with Kenny and, we will get something set up and we will meet. And I will get that lined up.
We can talk about it Tuesday.
Yeah, Mike, I was a question that I was just saying, I know that those, umpires should be vetted, and most of them are, you just said it, most of them are.
And just a point of interest, if we're using subcontractors like that, I'm assuming even like with Kenny, we make sure that he's like, it doesn't have to be licensed, but he should be insured to some degree with liability, correct?
Why don't they just use the same guidelines for substitute teachers for public schools?
Or the GRPA, which is the.
Why don't they just use the same thing? Because when I subbed in the public school, I had to pass a background check.
Mayor, I don't know if y'all can do background checks on subcontractors. I mean, I was at y'all's rec department a few weeks ago, you had some, Hispanic people out there and probably half of them were illegals. You know what I mean, how do you want to